So if you were to ask 10 men, when it comes to dressing stylishly, do you always know what you're doing? Well, it's safe to say that 7 out of 10 would not know how to build a wardrobe that represents their own personal style. And the 3 guys that think they understand style, well, they probably need more help than the guys that are unsure.
Hello. My name's Antonio Centeno.
Well, gents, for over a decade, I've been helping men unlock their confidence by learning how to dress well. Here at RMRS, we've created thousands of videos and articles to help guys become the man they know themselves to be. And I've witnessed firsthand how a great-looking outfit can transform not only the way that others see you, but the way that you see yourself. Together, we're going to navigate the twists and turns of men's style, uncovering the hidden secrets and timeless tricks that can transform your style from to wow. The reality, gents, in today's modern world, first impressions matter more than ever. And when people meet you, they see you for the first time, they judge you based off of what they see, oftentimes in a matter of seconds. If I had to start building a wardrobe today, knowing what I know now, what would I do? First impressions are interesting for 2 reasons. Number 1, they're oftentimes wrong. Number 2, they're very difficult to dislodge. Why do we do this? Because as human beings, we want to be right. We don't want to take a step back and admit that we're wrong, even if we don't have to admit that to anyone else. This matters because first impressions, gentlemen, are incredibly powerful. So the first 6 things a woman notices: number 1, your physical attributes. Next up, your clothing and accessories. After that, she's going to pick up on nonverbal communication. And right after that, she's going to pick up on how you socially interact. Now, once the conversation starts, within seconds, she's going to pick up on your personality traits. And last but not least, she's also going to pick up on your interest and lifestyle choices. So first up, gents, we've got your physical attributes. And this makes sense because whenever you're meeting somebody for the first time, they are visually going to look you up and down, and they're going to make a judgment. Next up, let's talk about clothing and accessories. Now, as you guys know from my channel, I'm more of a classically styled guy, but I get that. Not every guy is like this. A lot of you guys are street style. Some of you guys are going to be more rockabilly, or you've got your own look. The thing is, wear the right uniform. If it's a casual event, dress casually. If it's a formal event, dress formally. If it's an event that's outside, wear the right clothing. Think about who you are, what you represent. Now, for me, if I'm going to a casual event, let's say it's a networking event, it's outdoors, I'm still going to probably wear a sports jacket. I'm still going to dress nice. Why? I'll be out dressing most of the people there because I represent my company. And that's the key, is you want to make sure that you meet, when they talk with you, when they get their card, when they learn more about you, you look the part of a success in your industry. So now let's talk about body language, the nonverbal communication thing. So first up, she's going to notice the way that you are standing, the way you're presenting yourself. If you look like you are a threat, if you're coming off as really like standoffish, guys, people aren't going to be as likely to approach you. Some people will, maybe that know you, but if you look like you don't want to be approached, understand that people are going to take that hint and they're going to believe you and probably not approach you. Next up, let's talk about social interactions. And this one's pretty big. And I think the most important one here to understand is the way other people treat you. She's going to pick up on this. So if you walk into a club, you walk into a bar, you walk into a party, and everybody knows you, or at least it seems like everybody knows you, and they're treating you like you are the man, she's going to assume that you are the man. Now, when you're talking with her, she's going to pay attention to a number of things. First up, your mannerisms, the way that you talk, the way that you move, the way that you treat others. Maybe you guys are at the bar. She's going to look at the way that you treat the bartender, the way that you talk to others. Now let's talk about your personality traits. First up, did you have the confidence to go up and just start talking with her? Yes, she had a boyfriend and you pretty much got shot down, but you still had a nice conversation. And so she formed a good impression of you. But maybe she didn't. And maybe, hey, she actually recognizes that you did come up and talk to her because she's been at events where other men are intimidated. Yeah, they'll make eye contact, they'll look at her, but they won't come up and talk. So by having the confidence just to throw your hat in the ring, guys, you are setting yourself apart. Next up, your sense of humor. And women, they love a man with a sense of humor, especially high humor. High humor is where you can use sarcasm, where it basically shows that you can think, versus low humor is going to be slapstick humor. That's going to be crude humor, using jokes like that. Next up, let's talk about your interests and lifestyle. So this is something, as you know, when you're meeting somebody for the first time, when you got a few seconds, what are you doing? Or even before you met up with them, you're doing the research. You're looking at their social profiles. You look at their Instagram account. You're looking at every Facebook, whatever it may be. You are trying to find out more information. Do you have friends in common? Yada, yada. So if you do have a social presence, make sure that you've gone through it and maybe have, your sister, maybe have somebody that you've dated in the past that's still a good friend. Maybe have another guy friend. Okay, look at this. How can I improve my profile? So imagine if every piece of clothing that you put on your body looked amazing. Seriously, you walk outside and you are just getting compliments. Now, the funny thing is this happens to a lot of guys that are implementing my advice when they're wearing just their everyday normal clothing. So what's their secret to looking good without even trying? Gents, it's no secret. It's called the style pyramid. So the basic concept of the style pyramid is that everything you wear will meet this basic criteria. It will fit your body, it will be of the right function, and it will be made from the right fabric. This may sound simple, but most guys are violating one of these three tenets. And this is what happens, is they end up walking out wearing something that has potential, but then fails. It makes them look not nearly as good as they can be. And even worse, sometimes it makes a guy look just outright bad. That's what we want to prevent. We want to make sure that you're not just meeting the basic, but you're eventually starting to master each of these three. And therefore, when you walk out, you look amazing just wearing normal clothing. So let me ask you a question. Do you think a guy 30 to 40 pounds overweight purposely puts together an outfit that makes him look more fat? Or let's take a skinny guy. Do you think he purposely puts together an outfit that makes him look like he hasn't eaten for a month? The answer is they don't know how to dress for their body type. And in today's video, I'm covering 5 body shapes and how to dress for them. Body shape number 1, the triangle. What we see with the triangle body shape is that the lower part of the body is larger in proportion to the upper part of the body. Now, of all the body shapes, the triangle body shape, in my opinion, is the one that benefits most from the choice of clothing. In particular, we want to build up the shoulders. So the first specific item that I recommend for any man with a triangle body shape is a jacket. We're talking sports jacket, blazer jackets, suit jackets, anything with a shaped shoulder, going to make you look stronger, going to make you look taller, make you look more square up on the upper body. When we're dressing the lower body for the triangle body shape, talking about jeans, trousers, pants, we want the lines to go up and down. What we don't want to do here is overly taper. A lot of fashions nowadays, they're trying to create this tapered bottom. You want to be careful because with the triangle body shape, what this can unfortunately do is create a diamond. That's not what we want. For the triangle body shape, the straight cut is going to be your friend. Now, really quick, I want to share with you a hack to lengthen your leg line. Okay, do you notice the difference? Look at the guy on the left. Do you notice how his leg line looks longer? Because his belt matches his trousers. For the vast majority of body types out there, you're going to want to elongate your leg line because it's going to make you look taller. It's going to make you look leaner and stronger. The next body shape is the inverted triangle, the V shape. So the key with the V-shaped body is that you want to make sure you don't over-exaggerate any parts of your body which are, in a sense, already overbuilt. In particular, the shoulders and the arms. If you wear a suit jacket that has a lot of padding in and around the shoulders, you're going to end up looking like a linebacker. Why is this a bad thing? Because you're up there to give a presentation, not have people saying like, wow, this guy looks really like a cartoon character. And that's the key with this body type, not hiding your well-built body, but making sure it doesn't distract from the message you're trying to get across. So my favorite piece of menswear for the V-shaped body is going to be the sweater, especially a little bit of a V-neck sweater right here. This does not hide your body. It makes you look great. It has a little bit of stretch in and around the shoulders, the chest, and the arm area. People are going to be able to see this guy looks great. He's in shape. Now let's talk about the lower body type of the V-shaped individual. You need to be careful of certain things. One, when it comes to shorts, never wear shorts that are overly long. This is just simply going to make your legs look smaller and shorter. You do not want this. So actually go maybe for a shorter inseam. We're talking 5 inches. We're talking 7 inches. Maybe look to tropical weight wool trousers, especially those that are going to have a nice drape. This overall is going to make your legs look better, and I think it's a more professional look. You can pull this off with a polo shirt. I think this is a much better look than going with the shorts. And let's talk about chinos. Let's talk about dress pants. Let's talk about jeans. You're going to be looking for a straight cut. You can lean towards the slim cut, but what you want to be careful of and avoid is the skinny cut. This does not look good for this body type. Again, it makes that lower body look even smaller. Next, we've got the rectangle body shape. Your shoulder, your hips, your waist, they're all going to be about the same up and down. We're going to see this body type on slight or slender framed men. Now, this is not a bad body shape, one of the more common ones we're going to see out there. So the advantage for the rectangle body shape is that the vast majority of clothing out there is actually made to fit his body. Now, the problem though for guys with this body shape is that they want to change it up a bit. They want to build up their shoulders, slim up their waist, create a more masculine look. You can do this with a jacket. As I've discussed, any type of jacket will build up the shoulders, but Also, having a sweater, a jumper that has a line going across that builds up the chest area. I've got another sweater that's got a shoulder patch. That right there is going to draw attention. Now, another option for this body type is to build up the V right here in the chest. You can choose that by going with a V-neck sweater, V-neck shirts. Now, as I've mentioned, shorts for any body type, they're not going to do you any favors, but if you're going to go with shorts, avoid the cargo shorts. Go for something that's going to have a little bit of a closer cut. Make sure that the inseam doesn't go beyond 9 inches. And if you're shorter, maybe look at 7, even 5 inches. Again, you want something that's going to fit well. And when it comes to trousers, jeans, chinos, you want to go for a regular or a slim cut. Don't go skinny and don't go overly loose, and go for a little bit of a taper. It works well for this body type. Next up, we've got the oval body shape. And for this body shape, your midsection is larger than your shoulders or your hips. Now, I'm not going to lie, gents, this is a tough body shape to dress for, and there's no outfit that's going to make a guy like this look thin. But what I can help you do with these tips is to look large and in charge versus fat and sloppy. That's what we want to avoid. We want the eyes to go up and down. We do not want to get caught anywhere in the midsection. So if you are wearing clothing that has a high contrast between your upper body and your lower body, and we're being drawn to your midsection, that's the mistake. You've got to stop shooting yourself in the foot. You've got to wear monochromatic looks. You've got to wear clothing that's going to bring it all together. So the first piece of clothing I'm going to recommend for a larger guy, and this requires confidence, a nice hat. A good piece of headwear. This right here is just going to level up your style. People are going to look at you and like, yeah, you can't hide the size of your body, but what you can send the message of is I care about how I look. In addition, hats make you look taller. The next thing I want to talk about is your footwear. You want to bring up a bit of height there. Go for a pair of boots. Go for a pair of shoes that have a bit of a heel. Something that has a bit of shine. We're going to be drawn and our attention is going to look at those shoes. You've just elongated your overall look. Now, this next detail isn't a particular clothing item, but it applies to your shirts, it applies to your jackets, it applies to your accessories. Make sure that you pay attention to proportion. If you've got a nice watch, if you're wearing a shirt, that you don't have a shirt with collars that are too small for the proportion of your body. So you want to look in particular for shirts that have larger collars. You want to look for jackets that have wider lapels. You want to look for a watch that's going to be a bit larger. All of these particular details, they do measure up, and you want to make sure the clothing proportionally looks right on your body. So in a little bit more detail, let's talk about lines, let's talk about patterns. So for this body shape, you want to avoid any lines going across. So a window pane pattern on a suit, you do not want to wear it with this body type. You want to go instead for a solid looking suit. It's going to just work, allow the eyes to go up and down. Now, when it comes to shirts, I do think a pinstripe, a candy stripe, or a Bengal stripe, even a little bit thicker of a stripe, works well for this body type when it comes to shirts. And when it comes to patterns, small repeating patterns are great. Medium-sized patterns are okay, but avoid larger size patterns. And when it comes down to particular clothing styles, formal clothing rules when it comes down to making this body type look better. Why? Well, let's look at the jacket. Again, builds up the shoulders, but also the length of the jacket. So it's going to cover the buttocks. And when we look at the transition of the body, we're looking at a guy right there. That length of the jacket is going to allow the eyes to go up and down. In addition, formal trousers historically went up to the natural waist. Nowadays, they're a bit more difficult to find, but I would recommend if you're having issues with keeping your trousers up, even look to get these custom made. Use suspenders with them. It's just a much more elegant way to wear trousers, and you're not going to have to pull them up throughout the day. Now, at this point in the video for San Antonio, this is a lot of material. I wish I could just see it written out or in a simple chart. Well, guess what, gents? I got you covered down in my free group over at school. I'm linking to it down in the description. It is the RMRS community. Gents, I'm telling you straight up, this group is friggin' amazing. Not only do I have free courses, including one, a step-by-step guide to finding your style, but we also do weekly giveaways, and there are a lot of great guys in there where you can post basically your outfit of the day, whatever watch you're wearing, your scent of the day, and guess what? People give you immediate feedback. In fact, the interaction is not only, really quick, but it's always positive because we've got a no a-hole policy. Seriously, I wanted a place where men could show up and could become their best selves. So again, gents, that group is absolutely free. Down in the description of today's video, I'm linking over to the RMRS community. The next body shape, and oftentimes considered to be the ideal body shape, is the trapezoid. A trapezoid body shape has well-developed shoulders and chest, and it has about a 6 to 8 inch drop down to the waist and the hip area. Now, this body type is relatively easy to dress. What you want to pay attention to here is finding the right brands that are going to have slim cuts, athletic cuts that are naturally going to fit your body. You've probably grown up buying clothing that's ill-fitted and you're not even taking it to get adjusted. So first off, if you've got a closet of clothing, you like the look of it, take it to a tailor. You will be amazed all of a sudden when they slim up the waist area, whenever they make those sleeves a little bit shorter, and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, wow, I actually am able to show off this amazing body that I've got. And if you're not happy with the clothing, you're looking to rebuild your wardrobe, consider going and spending a little bit more money to buy those specialty clothing types that come with the athletic fit. So, why do some outfits work and others don't? To put it simply, gents, there are colors that work for you and there are colors that don't. So first up, I'm going to take the billions of men on this planet and I'm going to divide them into 7 skin tones. If you can't tell, that's me being a bit funny because of the foolishness of even trying to do this, but I want to give you guys a working system. And by going with these 7 right here, most likely you will fit in one or be close to one of these categories. Maybe you're between 2, and in that case, go for both the colors in both of those categories. So starting here at the very top, we've got very fair skin. Next up, we've got fair skin. After that, light skin. Then you have medium skin. Farther down, olive skin, then brown skin, and then finally, dark or deep skin. Now in today's video, I'm not going to talk about undertones. In case you didn't know, every single one of those skin types could be a cool undertone, a warm undertone, or a neutral undertone. For today's video, to keep it simple, I am assuming a neutral undertone. So the first 7 colors I'm going to share with you: navy blue, gray, and this comes in a variety of shades and tones here: pure white, burgundy, what a beautiful color, beige, a classic neutral, charcoal, which in case you didn't know is a very sophisticated alternative to black, and finally teal, probably the most unique and striking color on this list. Gents, all 7 of those colors work for pretty much any skin tone. These are what I would call your default wardrobe colors. If you wanted to build a classic, versatile, interchangeable wardrobe from scratch, one that you would get a lot of miles out of, that you'd be able to get your money's worth out of, I can tell you if you used these colors right here in 90% of your clothing choices, you would have something that would stand the test of time. I mean, assuming the styles of the clothing you're buying is classic. So many times people try to bring in too much color. I like to look at color as spice. You just add a little bit to the meal and it brings out the flavors. Now, before I get into the colors that really work for your skin tone, I want to warn you with colors you probably want to stay away from if you've got this particular skin tone. So if you're on the far end, if you're from Northern Ireland, if you've got really fair skin with light colored hair, colors that you want to avoid are anything that are going to be neon, any dark browns, and olive greens. Now that first set of colors may seem obvious to a lot of you guys, but the last 2, it's like, hey, can't these work? Maybe some of you guys with really fair skin are saying, hey, I actually have an olive green sweater that I like. Well, gents, I want to stress, you can wear whatever you want. What I'm trying to point out is that there are colors that are probably going to do a better job than the ones I'm warning you to avoid wearing. So leaving very fair skin, let's go over to the fair skin guy. In that case, he's going to want to avoid bright orange, pale yellow, and very dark shades of most colors. And by the way, when it comes to skin tones that are 1 degree of separation away, you would probably want to listen to this advice as well. Because the reality is very dark shades. I know a lot of situations in which a guy with light colored skin, very light colored skin would want to wear something like this. I mean, maybe you're going to a wedding and you got to wear that tux. Again, I'm not saying you can't wear it. I just want you to be aware that those really dark colors can wash you out. So instead of wearing that black rental, can you talk to your buddy about you wearing your charcoal gray tux that makes you look amazing? So what about if you've got light skin? So the colors you're going to want to avoid are going to be gold, tan, and definitely bright red. What about for the medium skinned guy? So he's going to want to avoid the neon brights, pale pastels, and very dark browns. Now this guy can still wear a pastel, but he wants to avoid the really pale ones. The ones that look almost white, they're going to just pull color out of his skin and they're not going to complement him as well. Now what about the guy with olive skin? So this guy wants to be careful with the color green. Mustard yellow is going to do him no favors. And the caramel or walnut browns he needs to be careful with because they won't give enough contrast between the skin. Now what if you've got brown skin? The colors you want to avoid here are going to be black, dark purple and browns, and very pale pastels. For the guy that's got dark or deep deep colored skin? It turns out it's very similar. He wants to be careful again with the color black, the dark browns and dark greens, and again, the very light, very muted pastels. So what's the deal with black? Why do you need to be careful with it whenever you've got darker colored skin? Well, the reality is in certain situations like black tie, I think it can look really good, but it can also be overpowering or too harsh, especially in a non-formal situation or where you don't have black next to a white shirt. The same thing with those shades of purples, of brown, of green. They're just too dark. They work with the skin. Instead of going with shades, maybe you want to go with tints. All right, so I didn't mean to confuse you. You may be thinking, what's a shade? What's a tint? What's a hue? Let me explain. So the word hue, this is the pure form of a color. A hue has no addition of black, white, or gray to it. Hues are the base colors as they appear on the color wheel. By the way, there are thousands of hues, and in today's video, most of the colors I'm talking about are hues. Now, shades, as the name sort of indicates, this is when you take a hue and you add a bit of black to it. And depending on the percentage of the color black you add to that hue, it will darken the color. Now, the reason this is done in clothing and also in art is it creates a deeper sense of feeling, an intensity with the color. An example here is the hue of blue, but you add a bit of black, what do you get? Navy blue. Now, a tint is the opposite of a shade because this is where you're starting to add white to the hue. So again, let's take the hue of blue and let's add a bit of white. What are the colors we're going to get? Baby blue, maybe even sky blue. And while we're on the subject, let's talk about tones. Tones are where you take a hue and you add the color gray. So why would you ever want to add gray when we've got white and black? Because when you add gray to a color, it reduces the color's intensity. It makes the color less subtle. It makes it less bright. In the case of the hue blue, all of a sudden we get steel blue. All right, so getting back to our 7 skin tones, let's talk about the colors that will make these skin tones look amazing. First up, for very fair skin, these 3 colors are the ones you want to gravitate towards. First up, we've got salmon. This is going to be a red tint. What's great about salmon is it's so flattering for very light, fair skin. There's not a lot of colors that can do this, but salmon just works so well with this complexion. If you can find shirts in salmon, this is going to look so good with your complexion. Next up, we've got light blue, specifically powder blue. Now, most men are going to look good in a variation of blue, but the key right there is finding the variation. And for this very light skin tone, you want to go for this one here that's not going to overpower your complexion. Again, perfect for casual shirts, dress shirts, even a sports jacket. Next up, we've got a soft pink, specifically light pink. It's gentle, it's warm, and it adds a nice flush of color. Next up, for the fair-skinned man. First up, we've got Indian red. What I love about this color is it's muted, it's warm, and it works really well for this particular complexion. Next up, we've got coral pink. It's a warm pink with just a hint of orange that gives, again, a really healthy complexion to your skin. That's what we're looking to do here. Find colors that make your skin glow. Next up, let's go over to the green hue. Specifically, we're going to go with the medium sea green. So this color is really unique, and what I like about it is it provides just enough contrast, but of course, it's not overpowering. And gents, again, as a reminder, I'm giving you a guide. You can say to hell with any of this. You can wear whatever you want. What I would recommend is try out some of these colors I'm recommending because I want you to find something that just you wouldn't have noticed until you put it up next to your face. A lot of women are conditioned to do this. They go out, I've got daughters. Whenever they're out grabbing a dress, they put it up right next to their face because they want to see how it makes their face glow. I want you to be able to find colors like this that just work for you, that make you feel like $1,000,000, that help give you the confidence to go out there and change the world. Next up, we've got the light colored skin man. The colors that are going to work for him. First up, we've got pale green. So this is a light, fresh color that works especially well in the spring and summer. Next up, we've got peach. This is a soft, warm hue that complements light skin with its subtle, inviting warmth. Next up, we've got a soft lavender. Specifically, the color is thistle. This is a muted lavender that is a unique color and it works really well with light skin. What I love about this one is it's going to help you stand out from the crowd without looking like you're trying too hard. All right, so for the guys with a medium skin tone, the first color here is yellow-green. Now, this is a bright and lively shade of green that really does a great job of enhancing your skin tone. It brings out the warmth and it's a unique color that can help you stand out from the crowd. Next up, we've got one of my favorite colors, amber. This is a rich, warm yellow that enhances your natural skin warmth. Next up, let's go over to the blue hue, specifically medium turquoise. Now, this is a really vibrant color. It's got that blue-green mix, and this is going to stand out against your skin. And again, what we're looking for in the colors I'm talking about here are ones that you can wear. Not every guy can pull off this color, but you can. And by the way, gents, don't forget, down in the description of today's video, I'm linking over to that article, to that ebook that actually is going to have 25 colors for every skin tone. Sorry, I couldn't put it all into one video. That would have been like a 2-hour video. Yeah. All right, for the next skin tone, olive skin, the first color we've got here is the dark sea green. Now, this is a muted green that really works well with the yellow undertones we normally see in your skin type. Another color that works for you in the brown hue is going to be a dark tan. We're talking a bronze. This is a deep, warm brown that harmonizes with your natural colors. After that, we've got a unique gray tone, which is known as pale taupe. Now, if you can find this color in a suit, it's going to look really good on you, but this color right here, it's a classic gray with a warm undertone that works really well for that olive skin without washing it out. Now, what about for the brown skin tone, gentlemen? For you, my friend, look to the color crimson. Now, this is a deep, vibrant red that stands out against brown skin. If you've got the courage to wear this, this provides a rich, striking contrast, and I guarantee you're going to get compliments. Next up, let's go over to the green hue, specifically the color emerald. This is a deep, vibrant green that provides a stunning contrast with your skin. And again, most men cannot pull off this color. You can. Now, this next one is in the red-orange hue, and we're talking the color rust. Don't let the name put you off. It's an absolutely beautiful color, and it's going to be a bit more muted than the other ones we talked about. And that deep orange red, it's going to accentuate your natural skin tone and just make your skin glow. Now, what about for the man that's got dark? You've got deep colored skin. Well, you, my friend, are descended from royalty because the hue you can wear, the one that looks great on you, is one that very few men can pull off, and that is gold. Now, this is a luxurious, bold color that is incredibly striking. You got to be careful. Don't wear it all the time, but when you want to get compliments, you want to stand up from the crowd, you want to just make your skin pop. Gold is a color you want to gravitate towards. Now, over in the blue hue, you could look at royal blue. This is a bright, deep blue that pops against that dark colored skin. All that being said, if you know your history, the true color of royalty, because it was one of the hardest colors to produce, is going to be out of the purple hue. And that color is dark violet. And seriously, gents, if you don't know the story, so the Greeks, I believe they had to kill thousands of these like sea snails to be able to get this particular purple color, and it was toxic, and people, it was very expensive to get this color into their clothing. And thank goodness we don't have those issues anymore, but this color still makes you look amazing because this deep, intense purple, it looks regal, luxurious, especially against dark and deep skin tones. I've built thousands of wardrobes over the last decade, and I have found these laws to be indispensable if you want to create a timeless wardrobe that works for you. So if you're tired of struggling putting outfits together, you want to know these. First up, we've got the timeless style equation. Fit times function times fabric equals timeless style. Now, this law is built off the principle of the style pyramid. Now, the key to understanding the power of this equation is to look at the multiples and to realize that if you fail in one of these, it can lead to catastrophic failure across the board. So you may have nailed the fit. You may be wearing a really nice quality, maybe it's great gear, nice tracksuit, but here's the thing, you're required to wear a suit, not a tracksuit. So you failed when it came to the function. So guess what? You get a 0 there. And across the board, your whole style, your outfit gets a 0 because you failed in one of the key components. Next up, we've got the style law of interchangeability. And this allows us to get more out of less. So if you have 4 pairs of shoes, if you have 4 shirts, if you have 4 pairs of trousers, and you have 4 jackets, 16 pieces of clothing. But if they're 100% interchangeable, you have a total of 256 outfits. Understanding this concept alone can transform the way you shop, the way you build your wardrobe, and the number of outfits you're able to get out of it. Now let's address the situation. Let's look at the need. Let's look at where you're currently at. First up, we need to know your why. What's driving you? There's usually 3 reasons why somebody's rebuilding a wardrobe. First up is you've had a change in your career. Maybe you've gotten a promotion, you've taken a new job. Now, the second reason a lot of people rebuild their wardrobe is it's a new chapter in their life. Something has happened, something has changed, and you really need to level things up. Now, the third why is one of the tougher ones, and this is where you're in a rut, where you just want to change things up and you think that style could be that catalyst. It can be, but here's the thing is that you do need to take action, because everything we're going to talk about next in this video, it is great in theory, but it means nothing unless you actually act on it, and that's the key. All right, so you've got your why. Now let's start going through your clothing. We're going to assess what you're having. You're going to have 4 piles. You're going to have love it, you are going to have live with it, you are going to have loathe it, and you are going to have lose it. So leveraging the power of the L's, the easiest place to start is the foundation of your outfits, your shoes. Right here, you want to go through and immediately, again, identify what is a lose it. These are going to be things that don't fit you. They are beyond repair. They're just shoes. You don't even know why you've been keeping them. Go ahead and throw those out. Donate them, whatever it is, if they're in good shape. Now, when it comes to loathe, I get that you spent a lot of money on those shoes and they just are not your style. You just don't wear them. You don't like them. I want you to go ahead and create a box for the loathe. You're going to put loathe right on it and you're going to put the date, because everything that you loathe that you just have been hoarding, you don't want to get rid of, you're going to put into that box. In worst case, you can open up that box and grab it at a later point. Key here is we need to get this out of sight. We just need to get this out, and we need to start the timer on it, because in a year when you haven't used it, you're not going to feel bad donating it. But if you do need to pull it out, hey, it's there for you. Next up, let's look at the workhorses. This is probably going to be most of the shoes in your wardrobe, from your running shoes to your casual shoes, definitely your casual shoes, even maybe your dress shoes. You've got these and you've had them and you wear them and they work, and maybe they're even a decent company, decent build, but you know that, yeah, that you just don't love them. Why? Because you've got one pair, you just wear those and they look amazing. And it's a small detail. For you, maybe it's broguing, it's the detail of the style, it's the overall look, the color, the way that you've gotten compliments on those shoes every time. Maybe they're two-tone, and this is what you want to build off of. Ideally, with your wardrobe, everything eventually becomes a love, because when you can do that, when you've got shoes you love, matched with trousers that you love, matched with a jacket, matched with shirts that you love, all of a sudden you've got a combination, you've got an outfit that is friggin' awesome. And even if just half the items in there are love and the other half are just, hey, these are workhorse, these are just, they get the job done, you're still gonna have an outfit that makes you feel like $1,000,000. And that's what we're shooting for. So you went through your shoes, now it's time to go through everything else. You start going through your jackets, you start going through your dress shirts, you go through your casual shirts, you start going through all the items in your wardrobe. And again, what we're looking for is to get rid of, to clean things out, to give ourselves a little bit more room so we can assess, and the things that should remain after you've gone through that, again, even your underwear and your socks, you're doing the same thing. You are gonna, hey, I live with this, I love it, and that's what should remain after you're done with this exercise. So now take that loathe box, you've got it full, maybe it's even a couple boxes. Again, you seal this up, you date it, you put it to the back of your closet, or you put it in storage. But let's start going through the live and the love. Most likely your wardrobe is much lighter, much smaller. You're going to be able to start looking at things, but you want to assess, why do you actually love the items that you do? We've all got an idea of who we are and that individual style. And some people are going to be more creative. Some people are going to be a little bit louder. Some people are going to go for more patterns, brighter looks. You want to find what you have naturally been drawn to and start to write this down. In fact, let me know down in the comments your go-to color. Why? Oftentimes it's maybe something that repeats the color in our eyes. I know for me, I love earth tones, dark greens. I like browns. I've got brown eyes. But if you've got blue eyes, if you've got green eyes, you start finding that certain things just worked with your skin. Again, you've received compliments on those items you're wearing, but we're assessing, why do you love the items you do? Now, the next step here is to start piecing outfits together. We want to see, with the blocks, with the pieces that you have, what can you assemble? So you probably got maybe rid of a lot of your shoes. Perhaps you got rid of a lot of those shirts that just didn't fit. All of a sudden you're finding that, I am really deficient in these certain areas. You need, let's say, some new dress shirts. You do not actually have a suit that fits you. In fact, because you have lost so much weight and it cannot be adjusted, you really need to get one, because you are in your 40s, you're in your 30s. You know that you're going to get invited to a wedding, God forbid, a funeral. Things are going to happen in your life and you want to make sure you're prepared. So you've got a little bit of time too. You can start to look. Notice how we're going back to those basic rules. If you want to save money, you want to have something before you need it. And based off of, just what happens in life, based off of my career as well, I know I'm going to need more of dress shirts. I know I'm going to need more suits. But if, we're talking more of a casual wardrobe here, I think for a lot of you guys, it's going to be having maybe shirts that aren't so loud. It's going to be maybe Henleys. It's going to be polos. It's going to be sweaters, adding a lot of jumpers to your collection, as they're called over in the UK. Maybe get, nothing against a hoodie, but get rid of those ones that are super loud, have a crazy pattern, were stained, didn't fit you well. All of a sudden you get something that's solid, something that looks better on you. And just overall, this is where you're going through through, you're writing out and you're starting to assemble these pieces, you're starting to assemble the outfits, and don't be afraid. I like laying things out. You can even try them on, and hopefully, by the way, when you went through, when you assessed what you live and you loathe, you got rid of anything that didn't fit you. But yeah, you can just lay things right out there on the floor, on your bed, and you can start to see what outfits you can form. Now, at this point, you should have noticed the constraints in the outfits that you're trying to put together. Where, in a sense, could you add an item and all of a sudden get a big multiple? Because think about it, if you've only got one pair of shoes but you've got 10 shirts that are all interchangeable and work together, you're going to get a lot higher of a return by investing in a new pair of shoes, maybe even a couple pairs. But you want to look at what you love, you want to look at actually what you wear and say, can I upgrade it? So let's say you do have a couple pairs of shoes and you've got a pair of boots that you wear all the time. But if you wear boots all the time, why not upgrade those boots? Because you got those one go-to, and they are your rock star boots. They're just ones that every time you wear them, you get compliments. But you can't, they're not practical maybe for day-to-day use. But you do say, maybe I can upgrade to, a nicer pair of boots, upgrade my work boots, maybe get a couple. There's nothing wrong with having a couple in the same style, maybe going for different colors, if you really like that style, or changing things up, maybe just a slightly different style. Right here, we've got, as you can see right here, the eyelets on the outside. This is more of a hiking type of boot. Yeah, having fun. Or just saying, you know what, I do like the high top, but I want to go with something a bit more casual. Again, if you're going to wear it, if you're going to get the miles out of it, if you know that, hey, this has been pretty much, my go-to, this has been a workhorse, but I want to make sure it should be not something I have to live with. It should actually be something I love. So I bring in a pair of shoes that every time I put them on, I feel like $1,000,000. And that's where you know to make the upgrade. Where there is an obvious constraint and where you're deficient, where you've got maybe you're stronger in something else, but you could add something there and it will bring a big return. It's really just going to give you more outfits. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I want to be ultra clear. If you've got 10 shirts, if you've got 7 trousers, if you've got 5 jackets, but you only have one pair of shoes, do the quick math on that. You are only going to get this many outfits again and again. But if you were to bring in just 2 more pairs of shoes, so you increase it to 3, look at what you've done for the overall number. The math, that's the way the math works. Versus if you kept the shoes at 1, but you added 2 shirts. Notice how the end number did not go up actually that much. So this is the key point, is you want to notice in the area of your wardrobe where the constraint is at and then upgrade it, and preferably upgrade it to an item that you love. So some of you guys may be wondering, well, how does this fit into a capsule wardrobe? And how does that all play with everything you've talked about? It was first coined, the word capsule wardrobe, by Susie Faux in the 1970s. And the idea here was basics that could be mixed and matched. Then in the 1980s, designer Donna Karan, she actually put out a set of clothing designed to be a capsule wardrobe for women. Now, menswear designers eventually stole the term, and I think we've perfected it here at Real Men Real Style by breaking the capsule wardrobe into 3 parts. As you can see here with this simple Venn diagram, we've got direction, interchangeability, and quality. When you have all 3 of those things in your closet, you've got a capsule wardrobe, a set of clothing that's going to enable you to get more outfits from less clothing. And with that being said, let's dive right into this. So first up, direction. What do we mean by this? The direction that you want to take this wardrobe. What message do you want to send with your image? And believe it or not, even with relaxed dress codes around the world, there are still professions, there are still positions in which the clothing you wear sends a signal of who you are. If you're a lawyer in a construction firm, it doesn't matter that everyone else in the construction firm dresses down. The thing is, you are the lawyer. You're making sure that everything is great in the contracts. These are multi-million-dollar deals. You're expected to dress like an attorney. The next key concept in the capsule wardrobe is interchangeability. I've actually talked about this a lot on my channel. So going deeper on the idea of interchangeability, how do you make sure that the items that you're buying are all going to work together? One of the first things you want to do is make sure that you're going with the same level of formality. If in general you've determined the direction is going to be a bit dressier, you work in a banking institution, you're a consultant, you're a lawyer, you're wearing suits, then bringing in casual shoes is not going to be part of that particular capsule wardrobe. And you can have multiple capsule wardrobes, by the way. You can have one that's more casual, you can have a capsule wardrobe that is more formal. But assuming that we're sticking with one, you want to make sure that the formality level of the items is about the same. It sounds obvious, but so many times I see somebody falls in love with an item because it's on sale or it looks really good as an individual piece, but it's not going to work with the other items in their wardrobe. If you got a very casual wardrobe, it doesn't matter how much those dress shoes are on sale. You don't have anything to wear them with or any occasion, so skip them. Next up comes color. And this is where so many people fall in love with things that are a little bit shiny, things that draw a little bit of attention, things that they think have a bit of, wow, there's a pop to it. I got to bring that into my wardrobe. The reality is, gents, is that the vast majority of items in your wardrobe are going to be boring base colors. If you can compare it to painting, these are the colors that are basically just going to set the stage. We're talking white. That's going to be about 20% of your wardrobe. Gray is going to be about 18% of your wardrobe. Navy blue, 14% of your wardrobe. Black, 13% of your wardrobe. True blue, 12% of your wardrobe. Brown, 10% of your wardrobe. And right there, we're at 87%, and we haven't thrown in really any bright colors, anything that stands out. Now, why go with all of those bland colors? Because they're easy to mix and match. They are easy to form the base. And believe it or not, those bright colors a lot of people think are really fashionable, they like to draw attention with. It's like salt in seasoning. You don't have to add a whole lot to an outfit to make it pop. Now, with that remaining 13%, how would I fill it? I know for me personally, with my colors, with my complexion, 7% I'm going green. Why so much green? Well, that is one of my favorite colors, and I just find that it's a nice way to fill my wardrobe with certain shirts, maybe a jumper here or there, a jacket here or there. Green is just something I gravitate towards. I then give purple about 2%, red about 2%, orange 1%, and gold 1%. All that being said, again, you can change this up depending on your personal preference, your complexion. Now, we can't talk about colors without talking about patterns. In general, patterns I keep reserved when you're just starting off, when you're building that capsule wardrobe at the beginning, especially when it comes to trousers, when it comes to jackets, anything that's going to be a large, expensive piece, you want to keep, in general, solid. That being said, once you've got a base of, hey, I've got 3 pairs of solid shoes, dark brown, medium brown, tan. I know I like browns, so maybe you can go with the two-tone. Maybe you can go with something that brings in a little bit of suede in that with your 4th or 5th pair. When it comes to trousers, though, I am very careful, very conservative here. I think that just go with solids the majority of the time. When it comes to patterns, the easiest place to bring them in, shirts and accessories. And the reason being is these you can take a little bit more risk with, you're going to usually own more of, and they aren't as expensive as some of the core pieces I was talking about earlier, like footwear, trousers, jackets, shirts. You can have a little bit of fun with that, especially stripes, small repeating patterns that almost look like a solid from a distance. Accessories, that's where you can bring in dots, paisleys, brighter colors. Now let's talk about quality. When it comes to quality, you should expect you're going to have to pay more to get better. Isn't always the case, and there are ways around this. But in general, when you buy quality, yes, you're going to cry once about the price, but you are going to love it, and it's going to look great on you, and you're going to get your money's worth out of this item because it's going to last longer. And particular items like shoes, like leather bags, those actually develop character. Over time, they get better. When it comes to watches and certain accessories, these can actually increase in value over time. Now, one of the most common questions I hear about quality is there a way to get high quality at a low price? And the answer is yes, but it can be difficult. There are 2 things that you got to pay attention to here. First, your knowledge of what you're looking for of the products of style should be high. In addition, if you've got plenty of time, a high amount of knowledge, you can be on the lookout for some great deals and occasionally find them. You'll find certain businesses that are going out of business and they're having 50% off, and you can spot that that is a quality sports jacket. You can spot that those are quality made shoes from a brand you respect. You can pick them up. All right, Jen, so to start things off, I want to share with you some photos from the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, 2010s. Yeah, good looking guys, right? But did you notice how you can actually date those photos based off the clothing? Now compare that with these photos right here. Yes, I know if you're a detective, maybe the background you're able to pick up, or you know who these people are, or maybe it's the hairstyles you're able to get close on the date. But for most intents and purposes, these guys look like they could walk out of these photos and they would be perfectly dressed in 2023. And that right there, gentlemen, is the difference between trendy clothing and timeless clothing. Now, at this point, you may be asking, well, why does this matter to me? Well, gents, I'm here to tell you that if you know the difference, first up, it is going to save you a lot of money when you're out there building your wardrobe. Next up, you're going to look more attractive as you choose clothing that complements your strengths. I also want to point out that if you understand the difference between trends and timeless style, it's going to enable you to dabble into fashion, even if you don't think of yourself as a stylish guy. And at the end of the day, this information is going to help you dress with more confidence and get more compliments. So when I say trendy clothing, I'm talking about fashionable clothing, modern clothing that is in a trend. And we see trends go up and down over time. Usually it's 1 to a couple seasons in which people are wearing this particular item, this particular color. Timeless clothing, on the other hand, is not affected by trends. In fact, it is shown that it doesn't really go out of style. Now, of course, if you know your history, you know that everything eventually goes out of style. But there's an interesting effect here. It's called the Lindy effect. And it's the longer an item has been around, the more likely it is to last going into the future. An example here is the necktie. Over the last 30 years, the wearing of the necktie has really declined. Sales have been going down. But what's interesting is we're seeing it start to trend again. But the point is, if you look back on history, the necktie has been around for hundreds of years. Now, of course, anyone that studied human history can say, hey, looking back over 1,000 years, yeah, clothing has changed quite a bit. But the idea of timeless clothing in general is that it's not going to shift much over the next decade. You can buy a suit now, and if it fits you, if it looks good, you can be assured that in 10 years, this suit will still be able to be something you can wear. So now at this point, let's get into guidelines. These are going to help protect you from making stupid mistakes when you're out there trying to bring trends into your wardrobe. First up, understand, where do they come from? Most trends are manufactured, meaning that you've got the fashion industry, you have clothing manufacturers, everyone working kind of in cahoots to say, you know what, we should go with this color this season. A lot of this is created by, and that's one of the reasons for the runways and stuff, is designers are coming out with ideas. Next up, let's talk about trends and their time periods, how long they stick around. You can have trends that are around for a few days, other times trends that are around for a few years. Next up, let's talk about money and trends. So dollar for dollar, if I were to compare timeless items with trendy items, you are going to pay more for the trendy item and you're going to get less in terms of quality and build. And this is just because most trends, they're basically trying to get it from idea to the market very quickly. Now, let me be clear. I'm not against you going out there and spending money and picking up trendy pieces. I think they're fun, but that's, they're more of an injection of energy and color than they are as your base foundation. And your base foundation, that's going to be the items. They're going to be in those very neutral palettes. They're not going to grab a whole lot of attention. They are basically the foundation of everything else. While you can just add that little bit of trend, that little bit of spice, and you'll be able to even see it and people will be able to pick it up better. All right, so now let's get into particular trends that we are going to be seeing over the next few years. And I'll give you my thoughts, my opinions on each of them. First up, baggy clothing. In particular, a lot of baggy trousers. So we saw high-waisted trousers over the last few years. Now they're getting really baggy. Is this going to work for most body types? The answer is no. Now, definitely it can work for some. And again, if you're a fashionista, you want to pull this stuff off, go for it. But I think for the majority of men, you're going to want to stay away from overly baggy clothing. It really doesn't look good on any build. That being said, there are going to be looser fits. There are going to be some companies that will slightly make things looser. And for a lot of you guys that have been having to deal with tight fits, this is going to be a godsend. You're going to be, you know what? Finally, something that feels good, that looks good. And this will apply to suits. This will apply to jeans. This will apply to shirts. So if you find something that has a little bit looser of fit, you're gaining a little bit of weight and just, I want to feel a little bit more comfortable in my clothing, then go ahead and pick up something in this category. Next up, let's talk about the no shirt, no problem. Okay. Anything that you're seeing right here, all of these photos are things that you probably want to avoid unless you are getting paid to be a model. And in that case, you really need to ask yourself, is this the best decision I've made in my life? Because this just doesn't look good. Next up, we got V-necks. So the deep V-neck, you want to avoid this, but V-necks in general look good on so many men. Why? Because they build up the chest area. Now, if you have a huge chest and you don't want to draw any, like you're He-Man shaped, in that case, yes, this is probably something you don't need. But for the majority of men, me included, a V-neck just looks so great, especially, you layer it with a dress shirt, AKA collars and co. Point being is, find a way to bring in V-necks. Take advantage of the options that are out there. Again, they're going to see tons of sweaters. You're going to see shirts popping up, and of course, eventually they'll go on sale. So having a black V-neck t-shirt, white V-neck t-shirt, just a great option. And if you only have tried crew necks, you're a little bit, in your 40s, 50s, definitely go try one. They just look good, especially if you get a nice, well-fitted t-shirt, Henley, or technically not a Henley if it's a V-neck. You know what I'm talking about. Find those V-necks and have fun. Short shorts. Nothing wrong with short shorts, especially if you understand they're casual. So you're going to be wearing these things to the beach. You're going to wear them to work out. And again, if this is your go-to and you've got great looking legs, have fun. But understand many body types, thin men, large men, this is not going to be a great look for you. That being said, again, you're going to have more options out there. You just need to understand that this is a casual style piece. If you're in athletics, you like this style, nothing against the man showing leg, but for the majority of men, this fashion trend, these styles are not going to look that great. Next up, the Western style. You're going to see a lot of hats. You're going to see a number of different types of shirts. Not necessarily a bad thing. And I do think a man should experiment, have fun. You moved from Texas to, I don't know, New Mexico. No, you didn't leave Texas. Nobody leaves Texas. I left Texas, actually. But let's say you relocated down to Austin like, 10 million other people. You want to bring in a bit of style. Nothing wrong with now jumping on this trend, having fun. Point being is, this is I love Western wear, but be careful. And I would recommend, instead of picking up the trendy stuff, just go to a classic Western wear store, because you're going to get much better deals. And again, this is an item that's been in menswear for, over 150 years. So you can find some great deals. You don't have to just buy the trendy stuff that, again, dollar for dollar isn't worth it. No, I'd go for and buy just higher quality stuff that you're going to find at classic, Western stores. So when you dress old money, typically this means adopting a style that exudes a sense of timeless elegance, sophistication, and wealth. So based off that definition, we answered the second question, because it just makes sense that people would want to give a signal of, hey, I'm timelessly elegant, I'm sophisticated, and who knows, maybe I could be wealthy someday. But seriously, gents, building an old money wardrobe, in my opinion, is smart, because you're building a wardrobe that isn't going to go out of style. That being said, there's a similar trend called quiet luxury, which on the surface seems to be about the same thing. However, it is not. A key characteristic of old money style is it's going to rely heavily on classic, timeless pieces that signify old school wealth that's been in the family for generations. Now, quiet luxury, on the other hand, doesn't seem to imply generational wealth. In fact, in many people's minds, the only reason the trend exists is because of the show Succession and how the words have been trending on TikTok. However, if you define quiet luxury as unique, personalized, and exceptionally refined garments that are oftentimes commissioned in small batches and made bespoke by craftsmen? Well, by that definition, this trend has been going on since the Middle Ages. Seriously, go back to the Renaissance and you'll see oftentimes the difference between those that were higher up in society and those that were lower weren't the colors or the styles, but the materials being used and the detail of the craftsmanship and the build quality. This would result in two garments that looked incredibly similar, but were priced different by a multiple of 100. Starboy. What the is a Starboy aesthetic? Well, apparently it's a sleek, modern, edgy style, blending streetwear, high fashion, and retro styles together. And here I thought Starboy was a member of the Teen Titans. Oh yeah! But seriously, gents, this has been a style that's been trending, and I have to say that when done right, it looks pretty good, even if it does kind of have a funny name. Well, with the color palette, you want to keep it dark. Colors like black, navy, charcoal gray, and you can bring in accents like shades of purple, shades of green. Now, the overall look you're shooting for here is to create a sense of mystery. Dark, stylish, edgy, a bit of intrigue. As far as footwear, we see high-top sneakers or rugged black combat boots. With accessories, we keep it minimalist. Rings, necklaces, sunglasses, and hats. Next up, we've got the athleisure aesthetic, also known as the gym bro look. The idea here is a sporty look that shows a commitment to fitness and well-being. Now, just because you're wearing this clothing doesn't mean you're going to exercise or even healthy, but hey, it's comfortable, right? And athleisure, as many of you guys know, has been one of the fastest growing segments in the last 15 years when it comes to menswear. Which, believe it or not, I'm not going to condemn, because I love the fact that a lot of this is seeping into other parts of menswear and our clothing is becoming more comfortable because of performance fabrics and stretch. Now, as a subsection here, I'm also going to throw in the tech professional aesthetic. The key with these clothing pieces is they're leveraging the latest in technology, meaning that they're made to work with your tech and they're probably tracking you. From Meta's partnership with Ray-Ban to smartwatches from Apple to the wearable wearables that are tracking what we're doing throughout the day. Now, what about the soft boy aesthetic? Has anyone heard of this one? Again, I think this one's been trending over on TikTok. The name to me just isn't appealing. I just imagine like someone that's really soft, which apparently is the point of the look. It's geared towards someone that's a bit more sensitive, a guy that wants to come off as approachable, as artistic. Now, a lot of the clothing pieces seem to be classic, but the color palette is going to be a little bit more vivid with pastels, although muted tones still make up a big portion of the wardrobe. Next up, we've got the designer demon. And as the name implies, this guy wants you to know every designer brand he's wearing. Therefore, the logos are large and they are in your face. Now, on the opposite end of that, we've got the earth aesthetic. Now, let's not confuse this guy with the granola aesthetic. That's where you look like you haven't showered for a week because you haven't. Seriously, the earth aesthetic, I really like this one. It's casual, but it's all about those earth tones in the colors. So first up, those earth tone colors. We're talking greens, browns, beiges, and creams. Of course, black, gray, and white can also fit into the base, but it's really going to be those natural colors that this guy likes to bring in, and it just gives you a feeling this guy wants to be outdoors, which he probably does. Next up, let's talk about the workwear aesthetic. Some guys don't like this because they're like, people are wearing this, but they're not actually working. To each his own, I'm not here to judge, but I do remember when I used to climb radio communication towers, that's how I paid my way through college, I wore Dickies because I couldn't afford Carhartts. Those, I mean, they were great, but yeah, that was workwear when it was workwear. Now, the color palettes here, as expected, are going to be earthy, are going to be neutral. You're going to find colors and the material and the stitching made to resist stains and heavy wear. Some of you guys may be thinking, Antonio, are you finally going to change your hairstyle? Over the years, I've had various lengths. I've combed it in different ways, used different products. But yeah, for the most part, over the last decade, I have had the same hairstyle. So, is it time for a change? Well, the answer is most likely not. I think for the majority of us, it's good news because it just goes to show as a man, you don't have to jump on the next hair fashion trend. Seriously, you just need to find the style that suits you and occasionally play with the lengths, the way it's combed, change out the product you're using. But overall, unless you go with something extreme, the classic hairstyles are always going to be in style. So for me as a side part guy, I'm safe. But what if you want to level up your style, step up your image? How do you find the perfect haircut for you? Well, the first step, gents, is to consult with a professional. Yeah, I know, that's why you're watching these videos, or better yet, you're actually watching videos by hairstylists on YouTube that are showing you all these different styles, all these different looks. But here's the deal. Nothing beats an in-person consultation with somebody that can actually look at your hair up close. But even an inexperienced stylist who's been working for 1 year, well, this person at least gives about 10 haircuts a day, has worked, let's say, 200 days in the last year. Gents, that's 2,000 haircuts and at least a few hundred heads that this professional has worked on. Oh, and they also went to school and studied this stuff, and most likely they enjoy this line of work, hence why they got into it. My point is, even an entry-level professional knows a lot. So if you can call around and find a haircut professional that's passionate and takes their job seriously enough that they have no problem shampooing your hair and talking with you and explaining to you with your particular hair type, gents, this one action, finding a great stylist or a barber, can totally transform your look. Because the reality is, when you see a celebrity with great hair, they're not just walking into a barber for the first time and giving them explicit directions on what to do. Not like anything that matters, they are working with a professional who takes care of them and helps them find hairstyles that work for them. Now, the next key to getting the hairstyle you want is being able to talk to your barber in their own terminology. So when you say fade, understand that this is a gradient of hair length, typically shorter at the bottom and gradually longer towards the top. Variations include low fades, mid fades, and high fades. Now, a taper is similar to a fade, but more subtle. With a taper, the hair gradually gets shorter around the sides and back, blending into the top without a drastic contrast. Next up, let's talk about the layered cut. What exactly does this mean? So a layered cut is when the hair is cut at different lengths throughout, creating layers that add volume and movement. A lot of guys that have been cutting their own hair and it's gotten longer, they don't know how to layer. And what happens is all of a sudden the hair starts to poof out at the bottom. Simply put, the hair on the top of the head is actually longer than the hair on the sides. However, when this hair is properly layered, all of a sudden it's going to lay and flow differently and create, which I think most of us would agree upon, is going to be a more desirable look. Now, a textured cut is a style that incorporates layers and choppy ends to add texture and movement to the hair. And if you hear about a haircut being disconnected, this is a clear distinction between lengths, such as an undercut or a hard part where there is no gradual transition. So disconnected haircuts, you can clearly see where the hair has been cut. Now, what are hard parts? They're out of style, but if you ever hear the word, understand it means a shaved line on the scalp, creating a distinct part in the hair. Now, what about a fringe? So a fringe is where the hair is cut and styled to fall on or across the forehead. also known as bangs. Now past this, we start to get in different haircuts. On the shorter end, we've got the buzz cut, which is an even, very short cut all around the head achieved with clippers. Now the crew cut is a short haircut where the top is slightly longer than the sides, which are usually tapered or faded. Now the Ivy League is a variation of the crew cut where the top is long enough to part in style while the sides are kept short. And the comb over is a bit longer, and it's where the hair is parted on one side and combed over to the other, often used in combination with a fade or taper on the sides. So you're speaking your barber's language, and if that still is too much work, one of the hacks that I love is simply having a picture of me with a great haircut, with a style that I want to go back to. Now this doesn't work if you want to change up your hairstyle, but if you stick with the same hairstyle, then have that picture so you can quickly pull it up, or better yet, have a video, especially after the last time you get a great haircut and you just love the look of it, so you've got that next time, or maybe in 6 months if you got to change up barbers. Now I think it's really important when you're choosing a stylist, when you're choosing a barber, as I talked about at the beginning, that you get along with them, that they actually are going to make time for you, especially if you're changing up your style and you're not sure exactly how to style it, because this person is a professional in a matter of seconds. All of a sudden you're looking at your hair and you're like, wow, this is great. So apparently in the oral hygiene industry, there's an argument that's been going on for a decade, and that is, which tongue scraper is more effective? The nunchuck scraper or the do-it-all tongue brush? Apparently each side has its devotees, and this disagreement has split families. Gents, I'm here to prevent a civil war by telling you the answer is to use both. Seriously, especially if you've got deep tongue grooves like me. Now my routine is I like to start off with the brush. Right after that, I use the scraper on the brush to go over my tongue once. Next, I bring in the nunchuck scrapers. This I'll run over 2 to 3 times to get all that nastiness off. That, gentlemen, is how you clean your tongue. Next up on the list, hammerhead scissors. Now, technically, these are called rounded edge scissors or safety scissors, but I like to call them hammerheads because it just sounds cooler. But that's beside the point. You're wondering, why do I need to own these? Because scissors like this are going to prevent a lot of bad things from happening when you need to get to a hair in an area that's relatively sensitive. We're talking the nose, ears, eyebrows. Seriously, look at these incredibly sharp looking cuticle scissors. You want to take a chance and put these up your nose or even near your eye? And speaking of your nose, a dedicated electric nose hair trimmer is a must. My personal preference are those outfitted with side cutters. The next grooming tool that every man needs to have, an anti-hemorrhagic. What the heck's that? Guys, I'm talking about the styptic pencil. Basically, this is a silver nitrate stick. So whenever you cut yourself, you nick yourself with shaving, and we're talking minor nicks, you go over that and it stops you from bleeding. Guys, I promise you, this tool is life-changing, especially if you shave a few times a week, you routinely get nicks and cuts. Guys, this right here is just gonna stop the bleeding and is so much better than just putting toilet paper on it. Next up, we've got trimmers. Tons of different options out there. As you can see here, I've got some sideburn trimmers. These are really nice, especially the wider edge type, because they allow you just to get a really straight, nice look on your sideburns. And in a pinch, these can also work on the back of the neck. Now, of course, just a regular pair of trimmers can get the job done. And really, it comes down to your personal needs as to which tools you should purchase. Personally, I do like the smaller trimmers for the detail work, including cleaning up my eyebrows. And speaking of your eyebrows, this is something your stylist or your barber can take care of when you visit them, but it is nice to be able to get rid of, yes, those random long hairs. I don't know how in the world I got a 2-inch hair right there in the middle of the eyebrows. It's like this thing was just hiding there and popped out one day. Now, what I don't advise doing is plucking your eyebrows. That being said, flathead tweezers and needle nose tweezers I will add to this list, as I think they're essential, very useful tools, but in general, you don't want to be plucking your eyebrows. The exception would be if you've got a unibrow forming. In that case, a little bit of strategic plucking is fine, but in general, with your eyebrows, you can use those flathead scissors to get rid of any rogue hairs that, yes, are going beyond an inch, or you could even use hair product. Yes, a little bit of hair product right here on the eyebrows to keep them in line. And speaking of hair product, tons of options out there. In general, you're going to find you've got high hold, low hold, high shine, low shine. I've got a chart right here that kind of breaks out all the different options you have. But don't forget about the importance of your brush and a comb. Now, the funny thing about brushes and combs is that most guys make a decision about this when they're a teenager and then they never change it. Seriously, gents, you can experiment here. There are all different types of brushes, all different types of combs, and they actually have different effects on your hair. Some brushes are going to comb your hair straight down, other ones are going to create texture. And combs are really nice, not only because they're portable, but they can help you get that perfect part in your hair. Seriously, just look at these skills. Look at me parting that hair right there. Isn't that perfect? And now let's talk about water picks. This is a new tool I've fallen in love with, and any of you guys that have ever had braces, you know the power of a good Waterpik, and it just makes your teeth feel so much better, and it can just do things that, yes, floss can do it, but Waterpiks do it so much better. Now, as you age, and this can start in your 20s, your skin starts to go through changes. One of the first ones we see is your skin starts to get thinner. All of a sudden, you're just not replenishing it as quick. So the average layers, it just starts to get thinner. We also see your skin starts to get more brittle. So what can you do at home to make sure your skin looks good? Well, first, never use bar soap on your face. You want to use an actual face wash. You see, hand soaps have one purpose, and that is to clean. And although you want your face to be clean, the unintended side effect of this is it can leave the skin incredibly dry. Not a great look for the face. A face wash, on the other hand, is going to have a moisturizer in it and is going to maybe pull back a bit on the hard cleaning ingredients. The result, you get a clean face without the dryness. The next tip is to apply a moisturizer. First thing in the morning, preferably with a sunblock. And if you can't find one that you like, or apply them separately, but this combination is key to preventing age spots. Now, for men that spend a lot of time outside, especially not protected from the sun, you can start to show age spots in your 30s. However, most men, me included, will start to show them by our mid-40s and into our 50s. Now, if you do want to minimize age spots, I do recommend speaking with an esthetician or a dermatologist, but there are many over-the-counter topical treatments that contain ingredients like retinol, hydroquinone, and vitamin C. These treatments over time have been shown to reduce pigmentation. And as mentioned earlier, if you're looking at microabrasion or lasers, again, go see a professional. Now, this next mistake applies to you guys out there that have a beard or are growing a beard. Poor beard grooming. Now, when you're in your 20s, not taking care of your beard makes you look a little bit sloppy. In your 30s, 40s, 50s, it can make you look tired, old, and washed up. So first up, you got to take care of the neckline. Especially if you're a taller guy, everyone is going to notice. Basic trimming, making sure you don't have loose hairs, that you have an overall even growth that looks sharp, that looks clean, that looks like you put some effort into it. And by the way, I do know the mustache is back, and even if you're growing it by itself, guys, you don't want it fully covering the lips. So yes, your mustache, you want to maintain, keep it clean. Now, what about neck hair? What about sideburns? Again, when you're in your 20s, you're a starving student. Yeah, it's okay sometimes to look like you're going 8 weeks between haircuts. But if you're in your 50s out there in the dating scene, you want to look put together. So in between seeing your barber every few weeks, have a pair of trimmers and make sure to straighten the hair on the side of your face and the back of your neck. Now, we hinted at it, but I want to go a little bit deeper. Let's talk about gray. Now, some of you guys genetically are not going to start to gray till you're probably in your 50s. On the other hand, some of you guys start getting gray hairs in your 20s. And yeah, now you're 35 and you're mostly salt, not much pepper left. Now, graying as it happens naturally, I think is normal. But people's perception of the color gray with hair is that it does age you, which works for some men. But if you feel that it's not working for you, I highly recommend you go see a professional at least one time, because there is a huge industry on the women's side when it comes to coloring. And when you go see a professional who has colored thousands of people's hair, they'll be able to give you a better perspective. They know the best products on the market. And for a relatively paltry sum, you'll be able to see what the best can do, versus if you try to go cheap and do it yourself the first time, which I know there are different options out there and some of the gradual programs are pretty good, but I have seen it when a guy buys a cheap dye, doesn't know what he's doing, and colors his own hair thinking it's going black, and he ends up going purple. Yes, I have a friend in his 60s who went from gray to black with a purplish tint. It was hilarious. And by the way, this applies to your facial hair as well. Now, this next mistake has been made fun of so many times in movies, I'm surprised that guys are still making it. And that is they're trying to hide their bald spot with a comb over. Now, for some guys, hair loss is gradual, but you got other guys it happens in a matter of a year. Now, if you are experiencing hair loss and you want to stop it, there are options out there. But if you're not going to do anything about it, if it runs in your family, you pretty much know what's going to happen, then the path I would recommend here is finding a hairstyle that doesn't deny baldness is happening, but instead leans into it and embraces it. And the silver lining here is when you lose the hair on top of your head, all of a sudden you realize, hey, I got to protect the top of my head. So I find a lot of guys going bald discover the power of hats. From flat caps to Panamas to trilbies. Now, the funny thing about when you're losing the hair on your head is that the hair starts to pop up in other places. All of a sudden, you got it flowing out of your nose, out of your ears, more on your back. Now, I'm not saying you got to be bodyscaping all the time. That is a personal choice. But when it comes to the ear hair, when it comes to the nose hair, I would suggest you do us a public service and take care of those follicles because you don't want them looking like a forest. Again, especially if you're a taller guy, everyone's looking up to you and they can see those bushes coming right out of your nose. Now, the ear hair can sneak up on you. It's a little bit harder to spot. I would recommend, though, every time you go see your barber, just have him trim those two spots. In addition, the eyebrows. Seriously, have you ever noticed on a really old guy how the eyebrows, he's got these crazy long hairs that are going everywhere. Now, mad respect to the guys that are growing that eyebrow hair and actually styling it. But for the rest of us, what you want to do is just set up a routine to go through and trim it. And we're not going to be like some of the ladies out there plucking out all the hairs and then drawing them on our face. No, just treat it like your normal facial hair and keep it under control. Next up, let's talk about your oral care. Looking at somebody's teeth, this is the easiest way to determine their age. As you get older, your teeth are naturally going to get stained and are going to yellow. Now, with today's dentistry options and over-the-counter whitening treatments, you can hold the staining and yellowing at bay for pretty much the rest of your life. But if you've got really bad teeth, that the enamel is pretty much gone, one option, and I know it's expensive, but man, it can really transform your look, is to look at veneers. This is a process where they basically rebuild your teeth, and if done right, it can make you look years younger. That being said, you don't have to go extreme. Just go talk with a cosmetic dentist, because I know guys in their 50s that have gone in and straightened their teeth, and it's made a huge difference. Not only the way they look and feel about themselves, but actually, as many dental professionals will tell you, it enables you to chew better and your teeth are going to last longer. So let's talk about your nails. Let's talk about your cuticles. If you don't know what cuticles are, that is the skin that grows on the side and around the nails. And as you age, or some of you guys deal with this because of hereditary reasons, you can actually, the cuticles can come off, and this can be very painful. Now, some people are born with bad cuticles, but a lot of guys just have bad habits of chewing their nails or picking at their cuticles, which initially they can get away with, but as you get in your 30s, 40s, 50s, it can really make your hands look bad. Now, I've seen guys try to break the habit using a clear nail polish that tastes horrible, but the best method I know of that you'll actually enjoy is actually pay and go in and see a nail professional. Yes, get a manicure. Yes, get a pedicure. Treat yourself. You only live once. See what it's like. But here's the deal. When you spend money on something like that, most of us are going to say, you know what? I am not going to chew on these nails because I spent good money getting them to look good. And yeah, when you get invited to that pool party and you're wearing flip-flops or sandals, you don't have to be embarrassed of the claws on your feet because your feet will look good. So the first step to finding your personal style as a man is to do a self-assessment asking these 4 questions. First up, you're going to identify your lifestyle needs. This is your daily activities, profession, hobbies, your social events, where you live. All of this plays into the clothing that you're going to want to look at. A finance professional on the East Coast is going to have a very different wardrobe than a finance professional down in Houston. Or a creative up in Chicago or St. Louis is going to have a different look, a different wardrobe than perhaps that same creative living down in Southern California. Next up, we want to define your style goals. This is the message the clothing says without you having to open your mouth. Seriously, look at these pictures right here. We got the same guy, 2 different outfits, 2 different messages being sent. Now, of course, there's going to be a difference in professional and casual clothing, but even your casual clothing, if you are a professional man, you're going to want it still to send a message so in case you run into somebody on your off hours. Now, the third self-assessment step is to actually take out the clothing in your wardrobe and to actually look at what you're starting with. Most women are not going to have to rebuild their entire wardrobe. And in fact, your existing wardrobe, there's a lot of items that we can identify for good fit. Yeah, you like this shirt, it's a little bit worn out, but you love the overall fit and feel of it. Well, guess what? We're going to look at that brand. We're going to look at the measurements of the shirt. Even if you were to get something custom made, we can actually use that shirt as a block, which is basically a template to make more. There's also going to be certain items in your wardrobe that you just get compliments on. You keep them because you love the color, you love the material, you love something about it. And that's something that you want to take note of and repeat again and again as you look to make purchases. And of course, let's talk money. You're going to want to set a budget, but a realistic budget. So it's going to be important that you look at clothing prices and you understand all of your options. You also want to identify the priorities. Like any other guy, I like good underwear. But before you buy expensive underwear, you want to make sure your outerwear, such as your shirts, your trousers, your shoes, and your jackets are of good quality because that's the thing that most people see. So now we're getting into the fun part. And this is where you really develop your personal style. And the first thing you want to do is you want to identify your icons. These are the guys that you are inspired by. You've seen them in a movie, you've seen them in a magazine, maybe you're following them on Instagram. Whatever it is, guys, start to put together your list, and it really helps if they've got a similar complexion, if they're maybe a similar age, if they've got a similar build. Maybe you're a big, heavier guy, you got a little bit of a belly. Well, find guys that are large and in charge and dressing in a way that other men are just, wow, like this guy, yeah, he's big, he's heavy, but he does not look sloppy. No, he's large and I love that, large and in charge. That's what we want, right? Or maybe you're short in stature. Find a guy who stands tall because he's got the confidence. He knows he looks good. Every time he walks in a room, he owns it. Guys, that's what you do when you find your inspiration. You find someone you can connect with who just simply, it's like, you know what? I want to steal his look. Now, the second tip here is you start to experiment. And this is one of the hardest things for a lot of guys, because when I say experiment, there are going to be failures. You are going to put some outfits together that you're going to be like, that's not so good. Well, guess what? That's why I love it when you can take a picture, share it in a group, get a little bit of feedback. Or if you don't want to do that, simply wear it around the house. A lot of guys talk to me about, hey, I want to get into wearing a hat. What I always recommend is wearing the hat around the house, because when you become used to it, because when you feel you don't even notice it's there anymore, guess what? You're going to walk out not even knowing the hat's on your head, or wearing that shirt that you don't normally wear, a collar, a nice shirt like this, and you're just going to go out and run some errands, and someone's going to say, hey, wow, you look really good. What are you dressed up for? And you're going to say, oh, I'm dressed up for you. I'm just simply, this is the way I am. I'm looking to be my best self. I just wear this stuff all the time. Now, the third part here is incorporating unique elements. I really like it when a man brings in his heritage. So for me, my father, he's from Guanajuato, Mexico. Bringing in a guayabera, I think, is really unique if you've got a Hispanic heritage. Or maybe your grandfather's from East Africa and you want to bring in the dashiki shirt. And I know you Scottish guys are out there always talking about the kilt. Is there a way that you can bring that into your wardrobe? Or maybe just bring the tartan pattern into one of your jackets, a pair of trousers, or something unique. The idea here is that you know who you are, you know what you stand for, you know your heritage, and even if it's just a custom piece of jewelry, I love to see a man have fun with his style and be able to bring in a little bit of his own history. Now, up to this point, most of the work we've been doing is right up here. You shouldn't really have spent too much money. Instead, what we've done is we've changed your perspective and your understanding of style. In fact, the goal up to this point, quoting T.S. Eliot, at the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. My point there is when you do the groundwork to improve your understanding of style, you don't see it with the same eyes anymore. A sharpened mind and a trained eye is now going to be able to see opportunity and be able to see what your style could be much better. Now, what about a signature scent? Now, I know you love your Old Spice, or maybe it's Stetson, whatever it is. I've got those fragrances, but look to upgrade a bit. Maybe if you got a little bit of budget, instead of Old Spice, look to Creed Viking. If you're going out, you want something sweeter that draws in the ladies, look no farther than the fragrances from Jean-Paul Gaultier. Specifically, that new elixir is friggin' amazing. And if all that sounds like too much, you just want versatility and class in a bottle, check out either Tom Ford's Beau de Jour or Hermes's Age 24. Beau de Jour, why I love it, this is classic barbershop, and the Age 24, it's that metallic note. There's just something that reminds me of the gun range. I love it. Next up, practice, evaluate, and evolve. Now, it seems obvious, but the key to finding your style is not thinking about your new style, but actually putting it into practice, wearing the new clothing. Trying it out, putting together the different combinations, experimenting. It's like riding a bike. You've got to do it. Yes, you can watch tons of videos on riding a bike. You can read a book about riding a bike, but nothing beats going out and doing it. The same comes with discovering your style. You put the clothing together, you wear it out, you get compliments, you find events. A lot of people are like, well, I'm always stuck at home. Find or sign up for an event to go to. I know for me, when it comes to fitness, signing up for a race, signing up for an event really forces you to get in shape and to train. The same thing with style. How about you actually set it up so you're taking your girlfriend to one of the nicest restaurants in town? Or maybe you're a father of three. I get it. You're incredibly busy. Well, still take your wife out on a date night, or maybe take your daughters to a father-daughter dance and actually get dressed up for it. And your goal is to be the best looking guy for your little girls so that you can show up for them. Now, when it comes to evaluate, you are going to be your worst critic. And don't always listen to the voice in your head. Really listen to what other people, especially the people that matter to you, what are they saying? Does your girlfriend, does your wife, do your friends? They're like, man, you looked really good. Well, guess what? Yes, they are trying to build you up, but also they're probably being honest. You do look better. So don't be so hard on yourself. That being said, if you look at the pictures, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, you know what? If I brought this jacket in a bit, if I hemmed those trousers, maybe if I tried a different color, or this color looked really good on me, that color so-so, this is where you evolve. You evaluate what you see and you work to get better. And as many of you guys know, if you're just getting 1% better every day for a year, by the end of that year, you are 37 times better than what you were at the beginning. So there you have it, gents, the step-by-step guide. And again, down in the description of today's video, I'm going to link over to where I've got it all laid out with pictures, details so that you can actually have this guide absolutely free in our community over at Real Men Real Style on School. All right, Jen, so if you enjoyed this video, you're going to love this one. Stop wearing your clothing. Come on, I take care. Stop wearing your clothing wrong. I've got you covered right here. I want to make sure that, yeah, you don't make mistakes, and go check it out. Boom, right there. Come on. You're still here. Come on. Click. Boom, right there. Yeah. Boom, click. You can do it.